Alright everybody, first lesson that we have here for chapter 5 is a lesson on the mid-segment theorem. This idea of the mid-segment is something that you'll see. If you're using this note sheet in any form, I would recommend trying to do this activity that's on the front of the page before we go into these notes. So, you're going to need a ruler, you're going to need something to write with, and you're going to need to follow the directions that are on here. So basically what you're going to want to do is use the ruler to find the midpoint of segment AB on each triangle, then use the ruler to find the midpoint of segment AC, that's there, and then draw the segment connecting the two midpoints. That segment, when you connect the two midpoints, is going to be called the mid-segment, and you'll want to answer the questions. There should be two things that you're finding about these mid-segments each time. So, what I would recommend doing is pause the video, get that ruler, try out this activity, and then keep watching this video when you're done. So, pause the video and get started on that. Alright, hopefully you're back, and hopefully that means that you've completed the activity. Let's move on to the actual notes portion, which is on the back side of the sheet that you're using. So, mid-segment theorem says that the segment connecting the midpoints of two sides of a triangle is parallel to the third side and is half as long as that side. So if we were to, for example, take the midpoint of AB, take the midpoint of AC, and draw that line there, it means a few things. For one, it should mean that this segment and this segment are congruent. It should mean that this segment and this segment are congruent. And also, it's going to mean that if this segment, the mid-segment, has length of x, not only is it going to be parallel to the side that hasn't been used to make it, but also it's going to be half the size of that other segment. So, let's look at a few examples down here before you get started on your assignment. So we're told in this first one that MP is a mid-segment of triangle LNO in all of these cases, and we need to find the value of x. Well, using the mid-segment theory, if we know that this side here has a length of 16, MP is a mid-segment of that triangle, and we know that from the theorem, it's going to be half the length of the side that it's parallel to, and it's parallel to the side of length 16, so that means that x has to be 8. Looking at this next example, we're given the mid-segment and we're asked to find the side. This side, the parallel side to that mid-segment, is going to be twice as long, so we know that the side has to be and have a length of 14. In example 3, we need to remember the idea that the mid-segment is made up by connecting two midpoints. If P is part of a mid-segment, that means that it's the midpoint of segment OL. And what that means is that the two halves of OL are going to be the same size. Since this side has a length of 4, this side will also have a length of 4. And then over here, it's pretty similar to the example above it. Example 2, we're given that the mid-segment has a length of 4.5. We need to find the side that it's parallel to. 4.5 times 2 is 9, so x equals 9. So that's those examples. Down here, we're asked to make a few general statements based on things that we can find if we know that all of these points, G, J, and K, are midpoints, which means that GJ, JK, and KG are all mid-segments. So, for the first example, for example, we're told that we want to find a line that's parallel to GJ. Well, we have a few options here. we know that GJ, since it's a mid-segment, is going to be parallel to anything along this line. So for this part, we could put that it's parallel to DK. But we could also put that it's parallel to KF. But we could also put that it's parallel to DF. Keep in mind when you're doing these problems, I don't need all of the answers if there's only one blank. I only need one of these, so you only have to choose one for it to be correct. For the second one, we're told about EJ, and we need to find segments that are congruent to it. Well, remember that J is a midpoint of EF. So what that means is EJ is going to be congruent to JF. But they ask us for two answers here. So what would the other one be? Well, all you have to do is remember that mid-segments are half the length of the sides that they're parallel to. So that tells us that since GK is the mid-segment that's parallel to EF, that means that GK is going to be the same as half of EF, which means that it's the same as EJ as well. So we have GK also being parallel, or congruent, I mean. Problem 7 and problem 8 are fairly similar to those ones, so I can leave those to you to try out and see if you can do them correctly. But that's basically how those ones work. Lastly, we have this problem type down here. We're told that UW is 4x minus 1, and that YZ, this whole segment down here, is 5x plus 4, and we need to say what UW's length is, and then find what UV is. Well, what we need to remember to solve this one is that UW is half the length of 5x plus 4. What that means is, if we double the length of UW, so in other words, if we take 2 times the length of UW, which is 4x minus 1, it's going to be equal to the length of YZ. So, solving this, first thing we'd want to do is distribute the 2, giving us 8x minus 2 equals 5x plus 4. Then we're just going to do a little bit of algebra, subtract 5x from both sides to give us 3x minus 2 equals 4. Add 2 to both sides to get rid of the 2 over there. Gives us 3x equals 6. And divide both sides by 3. Giving us x equals 2. The question didn't ask for x, it asked for what UW is. So we plug 2 in to UW, which gives us 4 times 2 minus 1, which is 7. And that's the length of UW. Now, the other part of the question asks us to find YV, and we can see that YV is half the length of all of YZ, which means it's also going to be the same length as UW. So, we actually, without even doing much of any work, already know that YV is also going to have a length of 7. So, that's really all you need to know about mid-segments. You should be ready to tackle the homework. Hope this video helped you out, and I'll see you on the next one.